Okay, now we're live. Talofa, Talofa Samoa. Talofa Malolei Bola, Kia ora, aloha, and welcome to the Tagaloa Experience. This is a broadcast from Samoan Sundays celebrating the Tagaloa Spirit. What is Tagaloa? Who is Tagaloa? Well, Tagaloa is not God. Tagaloa is the creative spirit of Samoa and the whole of Polynesia that was dethroned by the white god the Palangis brought. I thank you for joining me as we celebrate the return of the Tagaloa Spirit to its rightful designated place. You see, once the Tagaloa Spirit is master of your soul and my soul, then we feel it every time we walk on our customary land, every time we swim in our waters. I'm talking about our oceans, our rivers, and our lakes. Only then can we experience the vibration, the energy, that boundless force we call Tagaloa. Like the wind, it's invisible, but we can see how it influenced the trees in the forest to dance. It's a divine presence we cannot touch, but we can feel it. We cannot know nor understand the Tagaloa Spirit. We can only experience it. This Sunday, we're going to experience Tagaloa as we unveil the spirituality behind the word spirit. To understand the meaning of the word and the spirituality behind the word spirit, that is the exercise in discovering Tagaloa, which in actuality is the Tagaloa experience. So once again, welcome. Soft reminder again for our poem writing competition. These are for the young people that are in school kids. The name of the poem is My Samoan Identity. Yeah, My Samoan Identity. And to give you some thoughts and some ideas into what to put into the poem, look at these questions. What do you like about our Samoan culture? Are there things that you need to know more about our Samoan culture? Relate these questions to my Samoan identity. The other question you can look at is it important to learn our Samoan language? So think along those lines of the Samoan culture and the Samoan language, and from there, write a poem. The poem is 5 verses, 4 lines to a verse. So there's 5 verses to the poem, 4 lines to a verse. And with the poem, you write your name, where you live, whether you live in New Zealand, Australia, America, wherever, where you live, and the school that you go to. Now, send that to faasinomangatrust@gmail.com. And once I receive your poem, then I'll read them over our program every Sunday. Poem writing competition, my Samoan identity. What do you like about our Samoan culture? Is it important to learn our Samoan language? 5 verses, 4 lines to a verse, including your name, where you live, and the school that you go to. When I get the poem, I read it over on our program, reading your name as well and where you live in New Zealand, Australia, and America. Okay, before we get into the word for today, let's do that song. La waki e la ngona pea sio e uleo. Sama ole tunu.
Samoa sa oloto, kama sese, o malingiloto. Ay chinaole mau, wow lawina ilaw, le tolotso tsere, ele ayo se fefe, e au suru le pongisa, ile vao sa hitama, e momoli, naya la totao mapatanga. La mona persi uiuleo, ele pure pala ila Samoa. Ole mau pure, ole mau la maleata, ole mau Samoa mo Samoa.
La mona persi uiuleo, ele pure palangi la Samoa. Ole mau pure, ole mau la maleata, ole mau
Samoa mo Samoa. Ele mafai mai na tenei ale alofa. Ele mafai, ele mafai, ele mafai. La waki la mona pesi o iuleo. Ele pule palangi la Samoa. Ole mau pule, ole mau la maleata, ole mau Samoa mo Samoa. Lo aquí la mona pesi o iuleo. Ele pule palangi la Samoa. Ole mau pule, ole mau la maleata, ole mau Samoa mo Samoa.
Yeah, ole tato pisilna. That is our song. It's slowly and surely becoming a theme song to our program every Sunday. The word for today is spirit. Spirit. I'm talking about the spirit, the sacred spirit, the godly spirit, not the spirit that we drink, not the spirit from the top shelf, but the spirit that is in you and in me, that I speak of at the introduction as the Tagaloa Spirit. Not being a God, but a spirit, meaning it's not personified into a human form, but is a spirit. And the closest I can make this understandable is this image of a mist hovering over a pond or a moor, as we see in the old English movies. And it's always like during the dawning of the day. And you know how foggy the days are in England. And so there's never that brightness to the days as we do have here in Samoa, where you see the sun come up and the rays and change the color of the sky and the clouds. There it's like there's a certain gloominess to it, but an awesome holistic feel, ambience to it. And that's the closest I can explain this mood of the spirit. And that's what I would like to talk about today. As I say that the divine that we believe in is not a superhuman that lives in the heavens, but it's a spirit. It's this hovering presence over us, spirit. Now, we are so used to this God image of a human form that to try to explain this is going to be very difficult and hard to get a grip of. But let me try. Spirit is, see, in our village of Vayala, for generations now, we call our rugby team Blackie. It's because of the uniform of our team. It's all in black shorts, black jersey, black everything. So we call ourselves Blackie. So whenever we are playing and we win, we come out and we talk and maybe have a couple of beers and we say things like, well, we did it in the spirit, the Blackie spirit, or Spirit Blackie. That's the spirit that I'm talking about, the Tagaloa Spirit. We did it with the Tagaloa Spirit. We did it with the Blackie spirit. So it's this omnipresence that you know it's there. And you can't really identify it, but you can identify with it, if you get my drift. And that's the spirit I'm going to be talking about today. It's a spirit of how we do things, of where we do things from, and with whom we do things with. We do it. It's the Blackie spirit. Why I picked this word for today is because for the last 3 weeks, Samoans locally and Samoans in the diaspora have been invaded spiritually by this particular spirit. What's that spirit? It's a Samoan spirit. When we played Tonga, everyone was waiting for a game because these are two brothers, Tongans and Samoans. And off the field, you know, they couldn't be more tighter as brothers. On the field, they seem to forget that they are brothers and they hit each other so hard and they go at it so hard. And so everybody looked forward to it. And so there was that spirit that built up Samoans and Tongans, not only locally, but also in the diaspora. And then we won the game with our brothers, the Tongans. And then we moved on to the next week. And that was the game against England. And then England gave us a really good whooping by something like 60 points to 6 or something. So now we're going into the game as underdogs, and our chances of winning are very slim. But this spirit thing with the Tongans seemed to have grown somewhat onto the next week. And if there were 100 people, or let's say 1,000 people rooting and cheering for the TOA SAMOA, now we've got 10 times more. Now we're talking about 10,000 more people rooting and cheering for the TOA SAMOA. And so the spirit seemed to have grown, seemed to have stretched its borders, and seemed to have become bigger, because now more people are visual on social media, and the juhu seems to have gone up 2 decibels and a little bit more louder. This is the spirit. This is the spirit I'm talking about. This Samoan spirit that we all have in our respective islands of Polynesia. This is the spirit I'm talking about. And until we came to last week and last night, the game, the final between TOA SAMOA and the Kangaroos of Australia. It was then that this cheering and this rooting and this spirit have extended its boundaries and more. And everybody felt it. You felt it in the diaspora. We felt it here at home. We saw you on social media. There was this uniting factor in the whole equation, which I can only put down to this Samoan spirit, this indigenous spirit, this native spirit that we all share. And it makes us do things that we didn't even know we can do. I mean, here we are. We're at the center stage in finals. How did we get there? Because of this spirit. Let me take it even further. When the All Blacks played Tagaloa Samoa here at Apia Park, oh my goodness, I forgot his name. Alafoti. I'm sorry, Alafoti. Alafoti scored a try. And he stood up and he threw the ball in the air. And it's almost like it was produced. The director and the producer were there pointing to the camera and saying to Alafoti, look at that camera and say what you need to say. He was on the field. It's just the camera guys out there and wherever they were, and they caught him face on. It's almost like it was produced and directed by in the studio, because his whole face just screwed up, and it's almost like he's saying to the camera, and he hit his chest like this, bam, and he says, "Oh man, faku. That's the spirit he's talking about. Faku is the spirit. Fatu is your heart. That's your spirit. And he's saying, "Oh man, faku." That's how you do it. With what? With the spirit. What spirit? The Samoan spirit. You know what that Samoan spirit is? Let me share this with you. This is what I've been talking about now for the longest time. That spirit, my friend, is the Tagaloa Spirit. That is the Tagaloa Spirit. It's something that was born out of the land where your puke is kangud. It's born out of who you are and how you were raised. It was born out of the blood that flows through your body, that our ancestors called Ele Ele Parpala, the same name we give to the land that holds our lineage, our ngafa, and our heritage. That's the spirit. You see, before the Parangis came with their version of God, the whole of Samoa was nothing else but Tagaloa. The land was Tagaloa. That's why we cut your puke and kangwit in the land, because this is the connection that we wanna fossilize. We want to cement this with the land, because in the land, and the land is Tagaloa. That's why we say at the introduction, you know, only when Tagaloa Spirit is in the throne of your soul can we feel, experience Tagaloa. When we walk on our customary land, when we swim in our waters, in our ocean, our lakes, and our rivers, only then, when we have that Tagaloa Spirit. Alfoti was talking about that spirit. He didn't know what it was. He just knew that it was a Samoan spirit. But that, my friend, is the Tagaloa Spirit. You're born with it. And then we came to the game last night, and the whole thing just blew out of all proportions. And I'll tell you something else. It even touched our white brothers and sisters, because I was watching that rugby thing on Australian television, and there was a panel of 3 guys and 1 girl, 1 woman, and they were talking, and they touched on this. They couldn't believe for the life of them that this rooting and this cheering can go to this level. That's because when the Tagaloa Spirit is there, we do things that joyously, joyfully, but we do it to a level that we didn't know we can reach. I mean, for crying out loud, look, our boys are on the international field, representing not just us Samoans, but all the Moana brothers and sisters. And all the Moana brothers and sisters are rooting for the boys. Where did that come from? It's the Tagaloa Spirit. Tagaloa, different names, spelled different, but it's the same essence. Tagaloa. In Hawaii, I think it's Tagaloa. Tangora. In Samoa, Tagaloa. In some, I think in Maori, it's Kanaloa. It's called different, but it's the same spiritual, divine entity. That is us. That is the spirit. And it touched every Samoan on the face of the planet. There was a post I found this morning of a young man in America on Facebook, and he's got this flag sprawled out behind him. He's holding it up like this behind him, and he's saying, "I'm not Samoan, but I don't play rugby. I don't understand rugby league, but I play American football. But I just want to cheer for TOA SAMOA." Now let me tell you a story. That boy doesn't have a Samoan flag in his home. He's not Samoan, he just told us. So he must have gone up, spent money, went look for a shop to find a bloody flag. He went out of his way so he could be a part of this thing. Where did that come from? He was touched by watching people who were moved by the Tagaloa Spirit. He couldn't believe it. There was a truck driver that came on and he said, "Every morning I come with my truck and I park it here and I go on. But all of a sudden I park my truck and all these people are coming out, tooting their horns, saying, 'Yeah, way to go, bro. Way to go, bro. Yeah, way to go.'" And he's saying, "I didn't know what the heck was going on. But apparently somebody put I think one of his kids put a Samoan flag, a small Samoan flag on his truck. This is a delivery truck that goes in the state. And so he put so every Samoan that looked at it cheered this man on. And this man was pleasantly surprised, because he says, every morning I come out, nobody even dares, don't care. They don't say good morning. But now we have cars, horns tooting, and say, hey, way to go, brother. Where did that come from? The Tagaloa Spirit. Alafoki, when he hit his chest and he says, me fight fuck, what was Alafoki talking about? The Tagaloa Spirit. What drove everybody? New Zealand, Australia, you all saw it. We saw it. Everybody saw it. The world saw it. How we root and cheer our boys on. And touch them. This panel, Australian panel, I love it when the woman was trying to explain the phenomenon of this thing that she's watching. She cannot wrap her thinking around it, because it's so huge. The tooting of the horns, the flags, and the people. That's what happens when the Tagaloa Spirit is allowed to take its rightful designated place, which is in your soul and in your heart and in your faku. Then you have people like The Rock. His busy schedule and everything else, he comes on and he talks. And what did he say towards the end? He showed his arm like this to the camera. Just, I don't know if you can see the goosebumps. Where did those goosebumps come from? It's the Tagaloa Spirit. It's the truth, because it's who we are. And this is what the TOA SAMOA did. This is what you did. When you went on the field last night, and in the last 3 weeks with our brothers, the Tongans, and then the English people, and then Australia, when you went on the field, you took us with you. Of course you did. As we always say, we weren't there physically, in body, but we were there in spirit. Let me share this story that I've told a couple of times before. Mana Samoa, I think the year was 1991, somewhere around there. Mana Samoa was getting ready to go to the Rugby World Cup. And so they had this wheelbarrow that goes around the islands. Wheelbarrow. What happens is the wheelbarrow, one of the boys from the Mana Samoa team would pull the wheelbarrow, and then the whole team would walk behind. And behind them would be the older guys of the administration of the rugby. And they went to all the villages. Now, of course, the villages were warned and were told about this, a week or two prior to. So everybody was kind of waiting, and some villages got together and pulled their money together. Some villages stopped them and did a little fa'alo along a Samoa with a kava and so forth. Some got some fine mats, but most of them, they donated money because that's what the team needed. When Samoa beat Wales that year, the question was asked, how did you do it? You were just, according to many, you were just to make up the numbers. And then you beat Wales, and you come from a land with a population of less than 200,000. And now you managed to achieve this unsurmountable feat. How did you do it? And this is what the boys told them. They took the tapua inga, the rooting, and everybody that tapua from the wheelbarrow. They saw the faces of everybody that came. But there's one face that stood out, and that was an elderly lady in the village in Surat. Apparently, they all saw her running over to throw something into the wheelbarrow. But as she was running, she was undoing the knot at the corner of her lava. We know that's where we keep our coins. So as she was running, she was undoing the knot that tied the coins in the corner of her lap. And when she got him, she ran up to the wheelbarrow and threw it in the wheelbarrow, the few coins that she had. And according to the boys, to the Samoa boys, they said, you know, looking at her, this elderly lady and how she was, it looked like that was all she had. But see, the nice thing is she ran. She didn't want to miss out on giving the last piece of bread that she had. Now, where do you get this? Where do you get this drive? Where do you get this push? Where do you get this spirit to be inclusive? Where do you get this sense of belonging that you would give your last cent so you can say, count me in? Where do you get that spirit? Samoa, that is the Tagaloa Spirit. And we all saw it in operation during the World Cup. We all saw it. You can't deny it. And this is the first time I haven't seen any mention of the God of the religion, any mention of Jesus. Maybe there was, but there was one, it didn't pop up. It wasn't that important because people were overwhelmed with this sense of belonging and this coming together, this thread that's threading every Samoan on the different countries on the face of the planet. So when you went on the field, TOA SAMOA, that's what you took on the field. What? Us, the spirit of the Tapua'inga, Autamata, your families, your village people, your Samoa. That's what you took on the field. You took us, and for that we thank you. It even overwhelmed Papalangis. This boy with a flag, he doesn't even know rugby. He doesn't, and like I said, he doesn't have a flag. He had to go buy the flag. He had to go look for a shop in America. It's a huge place. And he probably doesn't know who would sell these flags to these little island places. But he went and looked and he found a flag. Then he took a time to come over and show this thing. That happened to that boy when he watched the power of the Tagaloa Spirit, when it is enshrined in its people. He couldn't believe it. You won, TOA SAMOA. You won. If you had won, that would have been a memory. But I think the thing that'll stick with people's minds for the longest time, because this is the first time it's happened worldwide with Samoans globally. This kind of audio presence online, this kind of visual visibility on the social media. I'm telling you, it touched even Parangis. This man with a truck, this boy with a flag, and this panel of it touched them, it moved them. They couldn't understand what it is, but they felt the awesomeness of it. That is the Tagaloa Spirit. That is our heritage, and that is our identity. TOA SAMOA, you have made us restore our pride in being Samoan. Sometimes our identity has gone watered down somewhat when we are overseas and we're not exposed to speaking the language. So, and then some of us don't speak or speak very little. And it does something to the back of our minds. It bothers us a little bit. But this, what you've done, it removes all that. And what shines through is, oh man, you hit your chest and you say, no, my Samoan, faku. And I love it. And that's where you want. And that's the field where you want TOA SAMOA. Spirit. We do things that we don't even know we can accomplish. And unbeknownst to us, we hit our chest and we call it by all these names, faku, all these, all those. My sons and daughters and brothers and sisters, that is the Tagaloa Spirit. There is a spirituality to this whole exercise. From playing with our brothers the Tongans, playing with the English, and playing with Australia. There's a whole spirituality in this thing. Look at our people. Look at us, sitting on cars. There's an old lady, oh, God bless her soul. She's 95 years old. And she was filmed locally and she was put on. That's the Tagaloa Spirit. And when we return the Tagaloa Spirit to its rightful designated place, which is in your soul and my soul, then we feel its presence in the land when we walk on our customary land. We feel its presence in our waters when we swim our lakes, our rivers, and our oceans. So I pray and hope that we remember this victory. And we do so every time we remember that everything we do as Samoans and as people of Moana, we do it from the Tagaloa Spirit. Because that's who we are. Anything else is not indigenous to us. It's not indigenous of us. It's foreign. We can do anything and everything when we do things from the Tagaloa Spirit, when we do things with the Tagaloa Spirit, and we do things for the Tagaloa Spirit. That's when this nationalistic feeling comes in. When we do it for the Tagaloa Spirit, because you know Tagaloa Spirit, it's ours. In closing, I am so proud of all the Samoans, locally and in the diaspora. Not one accident. Well, there was one that I heard that someone slid off the car that he was sitting in the front. And because we were all sitting on cars and sitting on top of trucks and things, but it was just an accident. Somebody fell off and so forth. But that was it. It was the most non-violent. If you look at the way we behaved, we were so aggressive, it's almost bordering on violence. But it's the most non-violent, the most aggressive way of showing who we are. When we manifest this Tagaloa Spirit. And so, in closing, I want to thank all of you Samoans in the diaspora and all of the Samoans here locally, your families and relatives and friends here in Samoa. Thank you. Thank you for being the honorable people that we are. What the Parangis call, what are they called? Civilized savages or something? The noble savages. Yeah, well, that's their turn. And thank you. Because the word now has gotten around. They've seen how joyous we were. They see how celebratious we were. And they see how we came together. And they saw how our brothers and sisters from the Moana, Niue, Rarotonga, Tonga, Fiji, they did their thing respectively in the nations in support of their brothers, the TOA SAMOA. That's where you won TOA SAMOA. And nobody can take it away from me, because if you won the game, people will remember. Then it'll stay there as some kind of an information that they would like to keep remembering. But when you won on this spiritual field, you bonded everybody. Not only will you not forget, but we will always feel it. The emotion was so strong, it threaded everybody, irrespective of where you were at the time. New Zealand, Australia, America, wherever on the face of the planet, we all came together. We were threaded together with the Tagaloa Spirit. Thank you. And thank you to Samoa. Thank you, boys, for playing gallantly and for taking us to the top of the mountain in terms of the Rugby League World Cup Stadium. From all of us here in Samoa, have a blessed journey this week and do everything from the Tagaloa Spirit, with the Tagaloa Spirit, for the Tagaloa Spirit. From all of us here in Samoa, to all of you Samoans in the diaspora, and to all our brothers and sisters in the Moana and Oceania. God bless, and alofa te leatu. Soifua o ia manuia.